Call to order this meeting of the Fremont County Board of County Commissioners. I'd like to invite you to stand for an invocation from Tom Gilcor, First Southern Baptist Church, and remain standing for Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. Please pray with me. Father, thank you for this terrific Colorado day. Thank you, Father, for the people that make up this great state, and especially this good county. God, thank you for the leadership that we have in front of me now, and I pray for wisdom as they guide our county. God, I thank you for the citizens that are behind me and more that make up this wonderful county. God, let us have a spirit of positivity. Let us realize that we have not even begun to tap the potential of the people of this county or the resources of this county. God, we are blessed beyond imagination and beyond what we can even comprehend. And so, God, thank you for this blessing. Thank you for the creativity. And as we grow this county, guide us to make good decisions. And let us never forget the unfortunate in our county. And may we always think of them and always make room for them and provide for them. For greater is he who is in us than he who is in this world. Thank you, God, for the blessing that you've given to us. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Payne.
Present.
Commissioner McFall.
Present.
Commissioner Bell.
Present.
County Attorney Jackson.
Present.
County Manager Bryant.
Present.
Planning and Zoning Director Koch.
Present.
Next, we move to the approval of agenda. I believe we do have one change.
We do have one change, Mr. Chair. We need to remove item 6 under new business, the presentation of the 2017 audit report. Mr. Cutler, in the end, was unable to be here with us this morning, so we will put that on a later agenda when we can get him here. So I move to approve today's agenda with the removal of new business item 6.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move on to the consent agenda. I want to note that we have no scheduled public hearings coming up on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall.
Aye.
Commissioner Bell.
Aye.
Commissioner Payne.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move on to administrative and informational. Staff and elected official reports. We'll start with the county clerk's monthly report. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I don't actually have a report for you. So my report is that there is no report yet. So
Good report.
yeah, it's been a little frustrating with our new system drives. They are still working on formulating reports that break out our fees correctly so that we can report them correctly and remit fees correctly to the right entities. So we have probably half the month done, but half the month is still being reviewed by drives. And so I don't have anything to report for August as of yet.
So if I may ask,
Go ahead.
just for clarification,
Yes.
this is not just a Fremont County
No.
computer issue. This is a
statewide.
state?
To my knowledge, I don't know that anybody has balanced in the whole state of Colorado.
Okay.
In my last communication with our region, we are considered Southern Region. I had gotten a reach out from Los Animas County, and she was asking, she's like, I feel like I'm the only one, and the replies were crazy from everybody. So we were told by our treasurer on Thursday that we're actually ahead of the game than most, because we can print our daily reports that show our checks, our cash, our credit card, and at least give that to the treasurer to balance to, and most counties aren't even doing that. They're just giving them the cash, the checks, and saying, deposit it and we'll deal with it later. So she said that we are actually ahead of the game than most. So there was a little bit of good news. But as soon as I have a report, I will report it to you guys.
Thank you, Dottie.
You're
So,
welcome.
Dottie, just kind of a point on that. If anybody's tried to get their license plates renewed or anything, that's all tied together. There's a huge wait down there. And kudos to those gals down there working. It's not their fault that the system's making it as slow as it is, so appreciate everybody's patience when they are down there getting their license plates and stuff, because it is
Yeah.
hard on them too.
It has not been a smooth transition for the entire state. One of the main problems is that now we scan all of our own documents in, where we used to send it to the states. We're having scanner issues. We can't finish our transaction until we scan it in. The printers, they're all new printers. Our old printers, we could just print. They had no issue. These have a shorter memory, so there was actually counties that had to shut down because their printers had too much overload. So they couldn't print anything, so they literally had to close their offices. So it's been a disaster for the whole state. So yes, please be patient with our office in motor vehicle. It's been a hard time for the girls. They're not only having to learn a new system, but they are having to deal with all the issues that come with a new conversion, so.
Okay. All right, move on to the county manager's report. Good morning, Sunny.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I have better news than that. So just a few of the meetings that I've participated in over the last few weeks. On Wednesday, September 19th, we had the bid opening for the engineer for the Hayden Pass Fire. So that is an item on the agenda today as a recommendation for that project. On Thursday, September 20th, the commissioners, the county attorney, and I attended a tour of 2 of the Martin Marietta quarry sites. So it was always good to actually get out there and see some of the stuff that we've had conversations about in the past. And then on Thursday, September 20th, I also had a discussion with our representative from the EPA. And so that project is moving along, and those are the brownfields assessment projects throughout the county. And so that the contract with the state will be, or I'm sorry, with the EPA will be available sometime next week, and we'll get that to the attorney for review, and we'll start those assessments hopefully throughout the month of October. It is a 3-year contract, and so we'll be doing that project for quite some time moving forward, so we're pretty excited to get that going. And then a few of the other projects that we have going on right now, I've discussed that we're going through the 2019 budget. Everything's starting to come together. We've got all the requests from the department, so I'm compiling all of that information. We've started meeting with the commissioners to start looking over it, so that process is well underway. And then I'm happy to report that we finally have everything finished on the roof project. And so that's been kind of a new process that some of us have been working diligently on. So we're going to do the notice of final payment and get that completely closed out over the next couple weeks. So.
All right.
Okay. Then we'll move on to sales and use tax report.
Okay, so the retail sales tax collections in the month of July came in at $463,638, which is up $21,833. And year to date, those numbers are up $117,806. And so that portion actually gets split between the general fund and the sales and use tax fund. And as Dottie had explained, we don't have the auto use tax or the auto collections yet, so the next item is the construction use tax. The numbers came in at $61,144, which is up $35,828 from last year. Year to date, we're still just slightly down, but I'm hopeful over the next few months that that will come in where we had projected. The lodging tax, it's not a quarterly remittance, so that number came in at $188, but year to date we're still up $8,286. On the sheriff's 1% tax, it came in at $309,092, which is up $14,555 from last year. Year to date we're up $78,537. And then last, the construction use tax came in at $40,686, and so we're slightly down year to date from where we were at this time last year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Sunny? Okay. Any other reports from elected officials? And/or
I just
staff?
have one thing that I want to
Okay.
mention. This last Saturday, the Council of Governments Recycling, Beth Lenz had another electronics recycling event. I don't have the total figures yet, but her email started out, wow, so she was impressed at the amount of people that brought TVs and electronics in to have them recycled at a significantly lower rate. Those rates were subsidized by Fremont County, and it helps people to recycle those electronics, which cannot go into landfills at a cheaper price. She said they filled the first truck by 11 o'clock. They started at 10, and they filled the second truck by 2 o'clock. So she was pretty impressed. There's going to be several thousand pounds of electronics that won't end up in the landfill or in our ditches in Fremont County. So that's a good thing. So congratulations to her. And then one other thing, I just want to remind people that Pathfinder Park, the arena is open for open riding. Today is Tuesday. We have it open on Tuesdays for open riding. So anybody wants to go out there and ride the horse or equestrian events, it's open.
Okay.
All right, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did change my mind. I originally informed him I had nothing to say, but it ends up I do. I spoke in this very room, in this same meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, about some of the ballot issues that are coming out that will be on your ballot for the November election, which will be coming out before you know it. There are a lot of things on this ballot this year that could make a big difference for many of you, and I again would urge voters to be very informed about what it is you're voting on. I spent the entire day last Friday in Pueblo with Action 22, listening to pro and con arguments and working with Action 22, coming up with a stand that we would take as an organization on each of those ballot issues. And this coming Friday, Commissioner Payne and I both are traveling to Denver. We will spend the entire day up in Denver with Colorado Counties Incorporated, CCI, doing virtually the same thing. We will be turning all of those issues inside out, hearing everyone's opinion on them, and trying to see if we can come to a resolution in CCI on whether it would be a good resolution for the county, whether it would be bad for us, if it's something we would support, we would oppose, or maybe even take a neutral stand on. So I just want you to all know that we also continue to work not only on county issues, but on statewide issues that would affect Fremont County and every single taxpayer that we have, and they would affect you deeply. So again, I just truly urge you to be an informed voter this November. Thank you.
Well, just to add on to that, on Friday when we were up there at CCI, not only ballot issues, but also what issues CCI will pursue next year, 2019 legislative session, and we will discuss that, and that takes up a whole lot of time. They usually can pursue about 8 to 10 issues during a legislative session, and I chair the Land Use and Natural Resources Committee on that with CCI, and so I'll be running my meeting probably about noon on Friday, so that'll be, there's like half a dozen things that we got to talk about on just that one committee, so it'll be a busy day for us. So, okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll move on to citizens who wish to address the commissioners on matters not scheduled on the agenda. I have a couple here. Start off with George Story. Good morning, George.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How's everyone doing this morning?
Doing good. How are
Good.
you, George?
I'm doing really well. I have some good news for all of us. This is going to help all of us. As of September the 12th, 2018, the USA is now the largest crude oil producer in the world, which means Russia and Saudi Arabia have been dethroned. This means before too much longer, we can say goodbye to OPEC. And of course, this is a little later, but the USA needs more refineries. Of course, this will be up to Exxon, Mobil, and Shell. Anyway, everyone have a good day, and this is good news for all of us.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George.
Next, I have Grant Bell. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Grant Bellum, and we reside at 1637 Birch, which is at the corner of Birch and Cedar. And we was just wondering if any updates or anything on the stench that we're experiencing through Leakin Park has been. I know a lot of people are trying to address it. We just wonder if there's any updates.
We're just, well, other than we're working with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, CDPHE, I'm emailing them daily on that because I live out there too and I smell it too.
Yeah, I've read your.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that's, it's kind of the ball's in their court to move forward with this thing and see if we can't, because it's, you're like the epicenter. where your house is. It's right there on Sand Creek.
Right, I know, yeah.
And that's, I think we kind of have narrowed it down to between the dam, the SES dam and your house, and maybe just below your house is where it's all coming from.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel for you. I mean, it stinks at my house and I'm a half a mile away.
We have it at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll wake you up.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it does.
Like,
Yeah.
And then, one other thing that I just thought about when I was listening to Sonny's, he said he was talking about, he was doing the budget for next year, working on the budget for next year. I would like, if you consider paving that South Birch, it's not, I know there's not a lot of traffic on that, but the traffic is there, it's just a dust cloud comes through our yard all the time. And it's bad. And I don't know what the plans were or anything, but I thought, when you were doing that.
It's the last gravel road out there.
Oh, yeah.
We drove out there yesterday. So yeah, we saw it. Yeah. Thank you, sir. And the last one I got is for the public hearing, so we'll hold that for that one. Okay, move on. Old business, we have none. New business, designation of a county representative and alternate to the General Government's Board for the Combined Regional Communications Authority and representative and alternate to the CRCA Technical Advisory Committee. In the past, we have just appointed, we had Sheriff Biker and Under Sheriff Martin at the time, and we decided that probably the best thing to do would be just to appoint the sheriff and the undersheriff, and whoever's in office will be the representatives on the Combined Regional Communications Authority. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. Anyway.
Sure.
Anybody got anything to add on that?
No, I just think, Mr. Chair, this does clean it up for us. It makes it a lot easier to simply designate sheriff and undersheriff without adding a last name to that. So whoever does assume those offices will assume those duties as well. Especially since you all know we just had a change in sheriff, and we will have another change in sheriff in January. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move to designate the county representative to the General Government's Board for the Combined Regional Communications Authority, as well as the representative to the Technical Advisory Committee as the Fremont County Sheriff, as well as designate the undersheriff as the alternate to General Governments and alternate to the Technical Advisory Committee for CIRCA.
we'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Move on to item number 2, appoint a new member to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board for a 3-year term ending October 1st, 2021. We did get one letter in, Dan Meeks, who put his interest in to be appointed to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board.
With that, Mr. Chair, I would like to point out also that I believe we have one more opening in the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board. So if anybody's interested, please turn in a letter of interest. And I would move to appoint the new member to the Fremont County Airport Advisory Board, Mr. Dan Meeks, with his 3-year term ending October 1st, 2021, starting October 1st, 2018.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move on to item number 3, hotel and restaurant liquor license renewal, deadline waiver, late fee waiver for Penrose Family Enterprising, doing business as Broadway's Bar and Grill. Do we have anybody from there today?
No, we
No.
won't have a
Okay.
further one.
So
Nope.
do we have
They
a staff
have a-
report?
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat?
It's- The board just needs to waive the late fee. They have to get us their renewal 45 days before their renewal expires, and they went past that. So typically we have a $100 late fee, but if they submit a letter of why they were late, and it's up to the board of waiving it or not.
And if I recall, this one was late because of a death in the family.
I believe so. I believe Broadway's was the death in the family, and well, I'll talk about the next one in a minute.
All right, with that, Mr. Chair, I would move to approve a deadline waiver as well as the waiver of the late fee for the hotel and restaurant liquor license renewal for Penrose Family Enterprises doing business as Broadway's Bar and Grill.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item number 4, another liquor store renewal deadline waiver, late fee waiver.
Yep, so same thing. I believe she was extremely short-staffed and sick, and it just got stuck under some papers.
Actually, I recall the letter saying it was stuck under a stack of papers.
pile of
There was
papers.
no sick
Yes.
in that letter. I, that was
I
just,
get different stories over the phone, though. The official
Yeah.
letter said
the
pile of
official letter
papers.
says it was lost
Yes.
under a pile of letters.
Yes,
How much is it again?
it's $100.
With that one, Mr. Chair, I move that we deny the deadline waiver and late fee because it was just negligence on their part to handle the bill.
You had, the waiver of the deadline and the
Oh,
fee are two
late fee.
different things.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so deny the late fee waiver, but approve the deadline.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay. Clear as mud?
Got it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks.
It's okay, we're all good.
Okay. We muddled through that one. Okay, item number 5, award bid to the Hayden Pass Flood Recovery Design Services. I believe Commissioner McFall's been working on this for quite some time.
So I've mentioned this many times working through National Resource Conservation Service. We had signed a contract with them, which then allowed us to open bids for engineering firms. The bid opening, the bid deadline was September 19th. We did receive 2 bids for that, for engineering services. One was from S2O, Design and Engineering. I believe they're out of Lyons, Colorado. The other one was from OTEC. They are from Boulder. Both companies seem to be very well qualified to do the project. After reviewing the proposals with the review group, I can't speak this morning for me, and reaching out to other individuals who worked with both companies, it was recommended by the review group that we award the bid to OTEC. With that, Mr. Chair, I would move to make a motion to award the bid for design services to OTEC not to exceed an amount of $258,956, contingent upon an updated contract from NRCS, which we are waiting for because of the amount of dollars that it was. We just need a little adjustment in the contract with NRCS. So that would be a contingency of this bid award.
Okay, I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Other than I just want to add that Commissioner McFall and Sonny Bryan have worked pretty hard on this for those folks up there around Coaldale. So with that, roll call.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, and then we took off item number 6. We have 7 minutes until 10 o'clock for our public meeting, so we will take a recess for 7 minutes. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Hour has reached 10 o'clock. We have a couple of public hearings here. Start off with number 1. It's a temporary use permit, 18-005 for Skyline Mennonite Benefit Auction. Do we have Lauren Miller with us today? All right, come on up, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
What a pleasure.
Could you give us a brief outline of what you got going on here?
May I insert this first? This makes me feel like I'm in the courtroom. The last time was 25 years ago when I went upstairs. That's where I went this morning when I met when Joe Rawl was chairman, and so things have changed and evolved. I'm very happy about that. We spent 4 years in Thailand, became very aware of the human trafficking that happens. 5,000 to 7,000 children are trafficked from Thailand to America every year. When you get into the middle of it, it breaks your heart. And so we returned by the recommendation of our church leadership to start a mission called SAFE, and that's just to keep those children safe in their home environments, because we found people there who were desperately willing to do something, but they couldn't do anything because of strapped financially. And so I served on that board, and I was also serving on the school board for fundraising, and those brought those two boards together, and we mutually decided to do a benefit auction, something that we do very often from back in the eastern states where we come from. So we made the approach. Well, then it became, well, the church really needs to do this, and so that's why Skyline Mennonite is attached to this, though we have come up with about 3 different names. I don't know what will be by next year. But we started out with Auction for Good, and then it was Canyon City's Auction for Good, and I think now we're at Canyon City's Benefit Auction. So I'm just saying, so if there'd be a little grace to understand as we try to find our way through this, would be great. And so it's been absolutely amazing, the response in this community for businesses. And if the motion is approved, I'd like to personally give each one of you a sale bill that I have with me here. We're waiting to hang them up until we get this accomplished here in Canyon City. And but the businesses that have stepped forward, and there are going to be many of the 300 items, many of them are new or nearly new for this event. So, okay, you didn't tell me what I should say or shouldn't say, so I'll stop now. Is that good?
Yeah, I think you're good. Okay. We'll have a staff report, Matt.
All right. They did make a complete application for this. The notifications, publications were completed. It was reviewed by all the agencies as required. The recommended contingencies are compliance with the requirements from the Fremont County Department of Transportation in their letter dated 7/11/2018, and that refers to traffic control for visitors and litter control. So that would be the only contingency. They are requesting a waiver of the cash surety for the cleanup afterwards. This is located at the Fremont County Airport Industrial Park. It's privately owned property. It's innovative structures. It's the lot with all of the sheds on it right out close to the highway. It is a fairly large lot, so there is a lot of room on that property. And they have given their approval of this as well as part of their application. Otherwise, if you have any questions, that's what we got.
I don't think I have any questions.
Okay, thank you,
Mr.
Matt.
Chair.
Okay. No questions for Mr. Miller?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Anybody has any comments from the public on this? Come up now. I don't see a whole rush of folks want to talk about this, so I will close the public hearing. Okay. That's always a good thing. Okay. Wishes.
Mr. Chair, I have no questions. I have no concerns. I simply have the comment that I would make prior to a motion that I hope things go well for you. I hope you can get a really great turnout out there. It sounds like this is for a very, very good cause, both locally and globally. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I move to approve TUP 18-005, the Skyline Mennonite Benefit Auction, with the recommended contingencies of compliance with the requirements of the Fremont County Department of Transportation in their letter dated July 11th of 2018.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this matter?
No, I just appreciate all the work that you folks do. It's great, and I hope you have a good turnout as well. Thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Good luck.
May I
We would
approach?
love to have those
Absolutely.
flyers.
Sure.
Yes.
What an honor. No, but I'd rather be to give it to first.
Thank you.
This is only a partial. Thank you. It gives you an idea of the community response.
The first word I saw was fajitas. I'm there.
Thank you. Speaking of community response, I would like to say that we do live in an incredible community with their willingness, business-wise and individually-wise, for folks to step up to the plate when they're asked to donate for the many, many things that they are here in this community. They do a marvelous job of that. So thank you to all of them as well. All right.
May I hand them out to anybody else in the audience that would like some?
If they want one, go ahead.
You bet.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 2. It's a request approval of a zone change, Maryland and 9th Street. It's a zone change request, 18-001. Do we have Kyle Barrett or a representative? Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is actually Griffin Bryant. Kyle Barrett is one of the attorneys in our office. I'm actually developer on this project.
Your name is what?
Griffin Bryant.
Okay.
We both work for Vaquero Ventures. We are the ones that developed the Dollar General just east of the site. And I'll let Mr. Coke go ahead and take it away.
Okay. And you're requesting a zone change for this piece of property?
Yes, sir.
It's west of the Dollar General lot, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, let's go with a staff report. Let's have Matt to explain this to us.
Okay. Alrighty. When they developed the Dollar General property, it's actually all one property. And through their dealings, and I'm not sure how all that works, they're trying to sell or to get rid of the remaining property behind the Dollar General. They have worked out an agreement with one of the adjacent neighbors that they'll do a lot line adjustment and add it to their parcel, and that's the parcel down in the southwest corner there. And they have submitted the lot line adjustment to proceed with that. On September 4th, the Planning Commission did review this. They did recommend unanimous approval of the zone change. The reason for the zone change is that the property is zone business. The property they are joining it to is agricultural rural. By our regulations, if the zone is more than 25% of what you're adding it to, they have to go through an official zone change, and that's why they're proceeding with this application. They did make all of the public notifications, the mailings, and the posting in the paper. As far as review, they did make a complete application. The only outstanding contingency item would be completion and recording of the lot line adjustment. And they have finalized that. We do have the Mylars in the office, and they are ready to record on that. They are asking for waivers of the buffering and landscaping, hard surfacing, drainage report, and site lighting plan that would normally go along with one of these zone changes. If you have any questions.
Not this time.
So we're simply looking at a zone change from business to, I'm sorry, did you say ag rural?
Agricultural rural.
It has nothing to do with the lot line adjustment at this point.
Right, this has nothing to do with the boundaries. The lot line adjustment is reviewed and approved administratively, so that doesn't bear on this at all.
Okay. All right.
Okay. That's all I have for
Okay.
now.
This is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. I did have one request to speak. William McGuire. Bill, you want to come on up?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
On that lot fence waiver.
Come on up to the podium, Bill. Thank you.
I'm sorry. My name's Bill McGuire, and I'm live next to this property, and it's going to affect my fencing and everything, and 8 feet of my property. So I'd kind of like to see that, you know, I'm an old guy and I can't get out and do all this fencing and whatever. These big companies come in and want to change everything around. And I feel like Vaquero should, if they're going to change that line, they need to put a new fence in all the way from one end of the property to the other. That's a lot of property that they're taking away from my side of the property. And that fence has been there for 40 years probably. Because I know when we bought the property, that was the property line according to Hoshi Mystery, who we bought the property from. And so they've come in and surveyed it and everything, and they're saying that 8 feet of that property is theirs. And also there's supposed to be a way to get to that lot for utility trucks and stuff. that has never been, I don't think, addressed by anybody, their company or anything. But there's a lot of utility poles and stuff back on that property that needs to be adjusted, and Russ needs to keep that open for those utility trucks. So, as you see up there on their lines, there's poles all the way along that run all the neighbors, in the same way on the opposite side of the fence, or the opposite side of the property. Those utility poles go down through there, and there needs to be an access kept open on Russ's property, if he's gonna do it, to get back there to take care of the utilities.
Okay.
Who's Russ?
Russ Sanders, he's the fellow that's owns 509.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
So when you say that a new survey takes away 8 feet of your property, are you talking on the west border, on the north border?
West border.
On the west border?
West border, yes.
Okay.
And so I'm just, I would like to be sure that if he's going to do this, he needs to keep an open way for those utility trucks on his property, and right now it's not an open way. He has cars back there and stuff that might have to be moved so that they have an access to get in there if there's an emergency.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Bill. Anybody else have anything to add on to this public hearing?
Yes, I would.
Okay, come on up.
I can sign one of those.
Yeah, sure do.
You can sign the form after you speak to us if you'd like.
Okay. The main reason I would like to say something, and I don't want any hatefulness going on. We've signed off waivers of property in the past where we used to live a long time ago. But the main reason I believe a fence needs to be put in there is because we have, it's a huge square piece of land that is all used for a leaching field. And we've been advised by the man that put it in, Jeff Smith, and this was all put through with county, to the county department that takes care of all of our zoning things. And they came down, and they should have the paperwork, but we had to have this big, huge square piece of land, which is about 45 by 45 feet. And the very edge of it goes on the edge of that 8 foot. So we definitely need a fence to keep people from driving over into that, because you do not drive heavy equipment, cars, or store anything on that. You can have light planting like gardeners, some little light thing there, but you can't, and you can walk across it, but big vehicles cannot drive across that. If they do, it will crush the equipment that's underneath all of the soil. It will crush that, and if that happens, we have nowhere to go with another leaching field.
Okay.
You're supposed to keep it safe. And I don't know, I think it was kind of a thing that happened, but we were not notified until all of this came up in the last 2 to 3 months. That we had a man cross our property to do his surveying to see where they would be putting this 8 foot off our land. Never come to the door, never did any of that. We went out to ask him what he was doing, and we didn't go hateful. We said, can we help you? Is there something we can do? And then we get a letter to say that this will go through, so we came to this meeting. And like Bill said, if a fence that's in existence there on what they have, then there needs to be another fence to come across on, to close that off.
So it currently is fenced?
Yes, it is. It's fenced all the way over to Mr. Sanders' property.
Okay.
And we did have landscaping, but the landscaping could be moved over. But the fence at least should be, tried to be, and I don't understand all this, but how we have to show it to our title companies or what, but I think this all has to be taken care of in a legal way.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Matt, can you help me? Is Sanders there on the left?
He's on,
I'm confused at
if
where
we're on
their property
This
is.
is these
on
people's
9th
property
Street,
right
Okay.
here.
looking to
All right.
the north.
Okay, and so that,
If we're on
Okay,
9th Street
so the new
looking to
survey
the
brought the line
north,
over,
he's
the
on
white one was
the
the
left
other
or the west side.
And one thing you need to understand on this property, there was a, I believe, a 15-foot stem right through here that belonged to Dollar General. We'll call it the Dollar General property. So they have maybe fenced over onto the private property, off of their property, and created some of these issues on their own. You know, I'm not sure where that septic system is. They're talking about back in this corner somewhere. But this stem right here belongs to this property that we're dealing with.
okay.
There is an easement, it's called an encroachment easement, on that stem, because when you look at the survey, they located the garage right here, and that lot line would actually cross over through that. You can kind of see it, it's about 2 feet through that. And so there's a 15-foot encroachment easement for that purpose, is to acknowledge that that garage is over that lot line. There's another easement that runs down through here for the benefit of this lot and the utilities that run down through here. So there is legal access for the utilities and for people to get in and work on it and what needs to be done there. So, you know, really there's just a matter of the improvements have been put, you know, on and off the property over the years. And that's what the issue is. So,
That's been way before we moved it.
yeah, it could have been.
So,
And
1961 was when the garage.
we assumed that property line was on the line, and he stated that it was on the line. And so, here we go again. I don't care about the 8 feet, you know, they can have it, but I'd like to have a fence on there. That's my belief.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of clarification, I
Okay.
guess a question, probably for Matt. It sounds to me as though this fence and those 8 feet actually are an issue that should be addressed when looking at a lot line adjustment and not necessarily when looking at a zone change?
not necessarily. In this case, it would be more of a civil matter. If they're going to claim adverse possession on that, that's something for the courts to deal with, not for the county to deal with. The reason we go through what we do, title work, legal deeds, things of that nature, is to make sure things are done legally, and we have done that through that process. So the matter of the fence not being on the property line would be a matter for them to dispute in court.
Okay, thank you.
And really nothing to do with the zone change then?
With the zone change itself?
Correct.
You mean we would have to pay the expense to go to a court just to settle that issue when Dollar General is a huge corporation there, and they're the ones that owns the land back behind us, and we're just regular people.
There may be some discussion between the two of you, but the county wouldn't be a part of that process.
Well, the county kind of accepted when you come into the property and do all the stuff they're doing. And I think some of their stuff has been underhanded. They've put garbage out there in the back of the fence and covered it up with there's mattresses and everything else that's on that property. And they've covered it up. We have pictures of them covering it up. And we've talked to the planning and zoning and the county commissioners and everything, and nothing has been done. So, I'm through.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add on to this? Okay. Mr. Bryant, would you like to address some of this issue? Okay.
I'll return that slip. Thank you.
Does this work? Oh, perfect. So as far as the easement goes, obviously, Mr. Koch did address that and say that this is actually why we chose the Sanders property, because there was that easement there, and we're not trying to have anyone tear down a structure that's already there or anything like that. As far as the fence goes, obviously that is Sanders property once this will be dedicated to them. So we'd be more than happy to facilitate any sort of communication. I actually have business cards. I'm happy to give those to you and talk to you all afterwards about some way that we can, come to a solution on that. But as far as the rezone, like Mr. Koch said, this is a different matter that can be handled outside of y'all's, y'all's public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Okay, and then on the other matter of the utility, that is on the far west side there. Is there a building there, Matt, on that right there?
There is. There's a little carport that's there, and I believe it's one of those movable carports
Yes, sir.
that slides around. So the power poles are actually, if you look at this, you can see the fence line is off the property by 13 feet, and I believe a lot of those power poles actually come down through that side of it, and so they're actually off of this property.
Okay.
Based on the survey. So.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Can I make one more notation I forgot?
I'll allow it. Come on up.
You can stay there. Let's just do this. Is this all right?
Yeah.
Okay, there is one other utility thing that needs to be moved if this is the case, because we have a gas line that goes, our gas meter goes pretty close up to that fence line. It's right on that line. And where our gas line comes over sideways, goes across underneath that, some way underneath that, where that supposedly easement is. And so that was there when we moved there. We didn't put it in. And that's how we fuel our home, is through our gas, that we get natural gas.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else have anything on this matter? I will close the public hearing. Okay, any other questions for Matt or Mr. Bryant?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, wishes.
No, Mr. Chair, I understand your concerns, but all of those don't really affect this zone change. They affect something different, being the lot line or talking with those guys about the fence and stuff. What we're doing here is just putting this, the recommendation is back to agriculture rule, changing the zone, which makes it, what is it now, commercial? Business.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, I totally understand what you're talking about, but it doesn't have much to do with this zone change. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would move to approve the zone change, file number 18-001 from Maryland Drive and 9th by Carroll Partnership from business to agricultural rural.
With one
With
contingency.
contingency?
Contingencies of the waivers of the landscape buffering and those.
As requested.
Recording as well.
Requested, yeah.
Okay. I will second that, just with the note that Mr. and Mrs. McGuire, I would urge you to have that conversation before you leave today with Mr. Bryant and talk to him about getting some help in resolving the issues that you have. He just indicated to us that he's willing to talk to you. He's willing to help facilitate. He is willing to have those conversations. I would urge you to do that. Okay.
There was a second there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what
It's
I
been
started
moved and
with.
seconded. Any further discussion?
I will need a resolution number for it.
Resolution 34.
Thank you.
34, thank you. Resolution number 34. Roll call, please.
Commissioner McFall?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Commissioner Payne?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. And with no further business coming before this board, we are adjourned.
Pointing it out. Bellm, B-E-L-L-M. B.
That one I don't have. I mean, I don't have that. Oh, yeah, I do.
B-E-L-L-M.
Oh,
Bellm. It's all the same. Interesting.
I understand that, I get that.
So how's Carrie?